It's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
It's time for the biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
Top Hit Tuesday, and it's a very good evening, Zimbabwe. The top sports stories, the top music, and the top sports team in the land, bringing you what should be an exciting edition of ZiFM Sport. That team is our producer, Sean Tafirenyika, Barry Malandi, Chris Gray, and myself, Mike Madono. What to look forward to in today's show: Zimbabwe Cricket is angling to host the 2022 Cricket World Cup qualifier to fill the remaining 2 slots for the men's ICC Cricket World Cup finals, set to be held in India a year later. We also have our staple on a Tuesday, the Formula One report, proudly brought to you by Zimoko. And Formula One has scrapped all 4 of the season's races in the Americas due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and added 3 European rounds, including old favourites Imola and the Nürburgring, to the calendar.
We take you international, starting off in England, where Rugby Six Nations sides, along with Japan and Fiji, are set to feature in an 8-team tournament, which will replace this year's Autumn Internationals, the BBC is reporting. We head over to Scotland. This year's Alfred Dunhill Links Championship has been cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the European Tour announced yesterday. And in tennis news out of the US, the WTA say they have a strategy in place to cope with the financial strain caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, but Chief Executive Steve Simon thinks the elite women's tour will not return to any semblance of normalcy before 2022.
Then we'll dive into the play of the day, and as Mike said, it's Top Hit Tuesday, and today we'll hear from The Weeknd on a Tuesday. Then it's into the beautiful game where Liverpool's title-winning manager Jurgen Klopp has been named the League Managers Association Manager of the Year as the champions continue to bag the accolades. In Germany, Bayern Munich chairman Karl-Heinz Rummenigge has criticized the cancellation of this year's Ballon d'Or, and we say here. And we'll wrap it up with news that football is returning to Mzansi. In fact, that'll be our lead story in the beautiful game, where football returns to Mzansi. South Africa's Premier Soccer League will resume on the 8th of August with the Nedbank Cup semi-finals. Chairman Dr. Irvin Khoza, the Iron Duke, confirmed yesterday. We hear the thoughts of renowned football pundit in Africa, Thomas Quinaite. Yep, he'll be on the show. All of that and so much more to look forward to on this edition of ZiFM Sport. So first, our power play to give you the power you need to get through this show. It's from Faruka. It's called La Toxica.
The Warriors, the Chevrons, the Cheetahs, the Mighty Warriors, and the Sables. From the pool to the track to the field, we are Team Zimbabwe. The Home Front. Local sports news and analysis.
Don't forget you can be a part of the show by following and interacting with us on social media, Twitter and Facebook at ZiFM Sport. You can also look for Mike Madona, Barry Manandi, Christine Midzi, Sean Tafirenyika, Alois Munjira and Mark Ponzo in our individual capacities, and we'll be only too happy to chat with you about all matters sport, local as well as international. We always start on the home front, and the news is that Zimbabwe Cricket is angling to host the 2022 Cricket World Cup qualifier to fill the remaining 2 slots for the men's ICC Cricket World Cup final, set to be held in India a year later. The qualifier is set to feature 10 nations, from which only 2 teams will make it to the finals. These successful teams will join hosts India and the 7 others who would have made it directly from the ICC Men's Cricket World Cup Super League
a new qualification pathway that was officially launched by the International Cricket Council yesterday. The ICC are yet to make formal announcements on the 2022 World Cup qualifier hosts, but Zimbabwe Cricket Chairman Tavengo Mkhuhlane revealed yesterday the country, which hosted the global qualifier for the last World Cup, was in line again for another major cricket event. The ICC yesterday officially launched the inaugural ICC Men's Cricket World Cup Super League, which begins on Thursday with a series between world champions England and Ireland. Now, previously, Barry, the qualification format was determined by rankings, with the top 8 teams joined by 2 that came from the global qualifier. Remember, Zimbabwe missing out on World Cup qualification for the 2019 edition held in the United Kingdom when we lost to the United Arab Emirates in those qualifiers that were played here in Zimbabwe. What is the new format this time?
Well, the new format takes the 13 nations. Of course, that's the 12 ICC full members and the Netherlands, who qualified by winning the ICC World Cricket Super League in 2015-2017. Those 13 nations being Zimbabwe, Afghanistan, Australia, Bangladesh, England, India, Ireland, New Zealand, Pakistan, South Africa, Sri Lanka, West Indies, and the Netherlands, like I said. Now, they'll be involved in a Super League. Each team will play one-day international series against 8 of the 12 opponents. 4 series at home and 4 away. Now, each series will feature 3 one-day internationals. At the end of that process, the top 7 teams will automatically book their spot at the 2023 World Cup event in India. The remainder will have to go through the Global World Cup qualifier, and that's a tournament that you were talking about that Zimbabwe wants to host. So number one, we have to perform well in that Super League for us to automatically qualify. But if we fail to do that, we've got almost a repechage, as it were, to get into that World Cup qualifier that Zimbabwe hopefully will be able to host. We hosted the last one pretty well.
Oh, well, so it means that Zimbabwe Cricket, the Chevrons, have got 2 cracks at the whip, as it were. There is direct qualification if we do well in the Super League, but the Super League is against the big boys of world cricket, your Australias, your Englands, your New Zealands, your Proteas, your West Indies, your Pakistans. So qualification via that route may be a tough one, but we've got the second bite of the cherry if we fail to go directly by going into the Global World Cup qualifier, which Zimbabwe Cricket is looking to host again. Now, Chris, when you take a look at this new qualifying format, is it a step in the right direction as far as global cricket is concerned?
I think it is. I think there's certain advantages that come with it. I think it's going to bring a lot more relevance and context to the ODI cricket over the next 3 years. Previously, what you'd have is a situation where form didn't count as much for most nations. Basically, they qualified on the basis of past exploits rather than present achievements. So I think this change, where it'll be a lot more reliant on your current form, I think that's going to bring a world of change.
Absolutely, and so you'll need to play well and to perform well in the current tournament to actually qualify for the World Cup. And Zimbabwe, what I'm liking, Barry, are the noises coming out of Zimbabwe Cricket via the chairman, Tavengo Mkhuhlane, that Zimbabwe is prepared to host the global qualifier. First of all, I would like to say, is it an indication of the fact that perhaps maybe Zimbabwe Cricket is not confident that they'll qualify directly for the World Cup, and so preparing for the global qualifier? Or is it just Zimbabwe opening themselves up and saying, hey, we did a cracking job the last time, we're willing to do it again?
Let's look at the glass being half full and say that, you know what, we did a cracking job last time. Give us another crack at the whip. Let us host this tournament, even if we're not participating in. But we all know that I think that Tavengo Mkhuhlane is very, very much realizing that our team has a minimal chance of qualifying via the direct route, on the basis that, remember, each series has 3 games, and to beat the best of the best, like you pointed out, that in the Super League you're playing against the best of the best, beat them over. Yeah, you one game, possibly you can spring a surprise. In time gone past, in the shorter formats, we've beaten Australia even. But over a 3-game, one-day international series, it's highly unlikely. And like Chris pointed out, it gives relevance. It means that everyone is seized when they get into these one-day international series. So I can't see us qualifying via the direct route. It's an admission, I would believe, that Zetsi, we're going to be in that qualifier. We might as well host it.
Okay, so it's not you being pessimistic, and I think even for our listeners, just taking a look at the nations, Barry, that you reeled off earlier, you've got to say that Australia, England, India, New Zealand, Pakistan, South Africa, Sri Lanka, West Indies, and Bangladesh are nations that will certainly be rated way ahead of us. And that's already 9 nations. The Irish will fancy us, as will the Dutch, as will Afghanistan. So qualification directly is going to be very, very difficult for Zimbabwe. Now, I also like the fact, Chris, that the International Cricket Council has taken a decision to move the World Cup back to late 2023 so that any games that have been lost due to the COVID-19 pandemic can be rescheduled. And this will help to preserve the integrity of the qualification process, won't it? And it sort of like cuts Zimbabwe a bit of slack because we've had a number of series that have been cancelled.
Definitely. So we've had dates cancelled against Ireland, India, Australia, which is some of these dates that we really need, and the fact that they've made this decision means that they'll be able to go through the qualification process with a little bit more slack. We're still expecting Pakistan, Sri Lanka tours as well before the end of the year. So if we do have those relaxation of coronavirus travel restrictions, we'll still be able to go through with those, and Zimbabwe sorely needs this advantage.
Absolutely. So all is not lost. If we thought we'd missed out on the chance of watching the Shepherds play India and Australia, don't despair. Those series look like they will be rescheduled a bit later on, the calendar permitting. So this is the latest development to come out of Zimbabwe Cricket. We want to get to hear your thoughts and your views on Twitter at ZiFM Sport. Please follow and interact with us. With local sports news coming up for basketball, athletics, as well as an update out of the Council Lager Premier Soccer League. And then we get into the Zimoco Formula 1 report, where we will be talking about the calendar there as well. So the calendar dominating sport on Top Hit Tuesday here on ZiFM Sport. We'll be taking a look at some of the adjustments that are being made regards of Formula 1 and their race calendar.
Hi, my name is Sean Williams, Zimbabwe Cricket Captain. You're listening to ZiFM Sport. Z.
All right, let's get into our local sports news roundup, starting with basketball, where the Harare Basketball Association, the HBA, has been left in limbo as its disciplinary committee is delaying giving the final verdict on the disputed match between defending champions Harare City Hornets and Foxes played in December last year. Foxes were accused of using an unregistered player, Tichawanya Chinyanganya, a day after the HBA mid-season transfer window opened on the 15th of December. And on that particular day, City Hornets lost 72-59 to rivals Foxes. With the ruling on the matter still outstanding 7 months down the line, HBA spokesperson Carlos Munda says the association stands guided by its standing rules and regulations. Hence, they can only wait to hear the outcome from the disciplinary committee. On to athletics news. Long-distance runner Munyaradzi Jari says he is not letting the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic derail his efforts to fulfill his dream of qualifying for the Olympic Games. Jari is one of the several long-distance runners shortlisted for the Games that were scheduled for July the 23rd to August the 8th, 2021. My plans have not changed. What has just happened is I have adjusted my training program, he said. For now, it's just about keeping fit and staying in shape in case we have a race. The Athens Marathon is set for November the 8th and registration opened on July the 3rd, while the World Half Marathon is scheduled for October 17th. Zimbabwe is hoping to send a representative for the World Half Marathon in Gdynia, Poland. We wrap it up with Council Lager Premier Soccer League news, where good news for Chipembere fans. After reports emerged that Black Rhinos have secured a new title sponsor. The Army side were one of the 4 Premiership teams affected by the withdrawal of Net1 from sponsoring football activities 3 months ago. The telecommunications giants used to bankroll Highlanders, Caps United, Dynamos, and Chapungu, but decided to stop football sponsorship to channel their resources towards the national fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. Black Rhinos team spokesman Edward Mutukwa, however, could not reveal the sponsor's identity, citing confidentiality until the official announcement, which is set to be held just before the season starts, whenever the season starts.
Hi, this is Mike Madoda, and you can catch me and the team for all the latest breaking news out of the world of sport, local as well as international, on your favorite station, my station, your station, ZiFM. We are Z-Team on ZiFM Sport.
Z. International Sports News Roundup, where the world comes out to play. From sunny Melbourne to the streets of Monaco, the deserts of Bahrain to the jungles of Brazil, get up to speed on the Formula One Report. The Formula One Report is proudly brought to you by Zimbabwe, the home of F1 brands Mercedes-Benz and Alfa Romeo in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, specialized service for special brands.
The Formula One Report brought to you by Zimbabwe as always. Now Zimbabwe is the home of Mitsubishi vehicles in Zimbabwe. The all-new Mitsubishi ASX is now available. The ASX combines all the benefits of a compact SUV, spacious interior, roomy boot and extra height with the maneuverability and fuel efficiency of a smaller car, with great style, performance, safety and the latest technology features, plus plenty of space for friends, family and cargo. The new ASX won't cramp your style. With a dramatic new face featuring a prominent newly designed LED headlamps with built-in LED daytime running lamps and LED fog lamps, an expressive grille and strong body lines, you'll enjoy looking at your ASX almost as much as you enjoy driving it. The ASX's full-length panoramic roof lets you and your passengers enjoy uninterrupted views of the sky and the stars.
And now the ASX is an impressive 2-litre MyVec petrol engine. The new generation engine provides fuel economy of an average of 7.5 litres per 100 kilometres with a 63-litre fuel tank. The fuel efficiency translates to more than 800 kilometres travel on a single tank. Now that is impressive. Furthermore, your loved ones are in the best hands with a 7-airbag system and packed with a range of advanced passive and active safety technologies for increased safety for every seat. All of this and more for an affordable price, including 3 years or 100,000 kilometer warranty and a first free service with Zimbabwe at 10,000 kilometers. Book your test drive today at our Zimbabwe Borodale showroom and try this vehicle out for yourself.
Z.
Now, before we get into our Formula One report proper, Mikey, 800 kilometers distance on a full tank. What's that in practical terms? Where am I going and coming back?
Practical terms, you can easily do Mutare and back and still have about a quarter tank. You can do Mashigo and back and still have a quarter tank. You can get to Bulawayo and sort of like run out of fuel in Norton. So that's not too bad.
So that's pretty impressive for the Mitsubishi ASX. More on Zimbabwe a bit later on. But in Formula One news, like Mike said, it's about calendar issues today. Formula One has scrapped all 4 of the season's races in the Americas due to the COVID-19 pandemic and added 3 European rounds, including old favorites Imola and the Nürburgring, to the calendar, while previously scheduled Grand Prix in Canada, Texas, Mexico and Brazil were cancelled. Formula One said in a statement that Portugal's Portimao will host a race for the first time. The cancellations take the tally of races axed from the original 2020 calendar to 11. The other casualties of COVID are Australia, France, Monaco, the Netherlands, Azerbaijan, Singapore, and Japan. The revised schedule now has 13 rounds, with Formula One aiming for a reduced championship of between 15 and 18, with final races in Bahrain and Abu Dhabi in mid-December. Well, Chris, we won't be going under the lights in Singapore. We'll still have the lights of Abu Dhabi on the calendar. It's sad to see those go, but great to see the Nürburgring come back. It's an old classic, old favorite.
Old favorite, and it's great to see the old favorites coming back. And also, I think this decision to cancel the tour across the Americas, incredibly important. If you take a look at some of those stats that you talked about, and just I think 4 million cases in the US at the moment, and those are some crazy stats. If you just take a look at the number of people and the volume of movement that occurs with any for any single Formula One team, I think this has been a really important decision, but also to bring back some old races in order to fill those up, have a little bit of nostalgia, so that also you're fulfilling those TV rights, but still keeping fans incredibly entertained.
Yeah, I mean, Chris talks about those COVID-19 stats, and that was a key consideration, isn't it, Mike? They had to look at where the curve, as it were, was in each of those venues, as well as making decisions just on practical basis.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Chris mentioned the 4 million recorded infections in the United States, and the big worry would have been the fact that Texas, which was due to host the US Grand Prix at Austin Circuit of the Americas on the 25th of October, has been one of the states hardest hit by the resurgent coronavirus. So that decision wasn't a very difficult one to make, a very obvious practical decision. Brazil as well, with I think has got about 2.5 million confirmed cases, and it has actually seen the worst outbreak of COVID-19 outside of the US and Mexico, and ranks 4th in the world for fatalities. Again, another easy decision to make. But what they would have been keeping an eye on, Barry, in adding those races in Germany, in Italy, as well as in Portugal, is the fact that you need 15 Grand Prix to make up or to fulfill the television contracts. And the US-based Liberty Media are the holders of the commercial rights of Formula One. The good thing is that they're located in the United States of America, so they know how drastic the situation is there. So they wouldn't have had a problem shifting those races from the Americas to some of the venues that they are moving to now. The good thing, Barry, is that we always say that opportunity meets preparation. So there is no way that a race like this or these races will be moved to Africa, because we don't have the facilities, we don't have the infrastructure. They can only be moved to places that actually do have the infrastructure. And for me, it's a crying shame that a nation like South Africa, with scenic cities like Cape Town, has not yet taken it upon itself to actually have a racetrack. I know there's Kyalami, but I'm saying Cape Town should be building a racetrack and a course that can host a Formula One race. It will be a very popular venue, as Cape Town is proved to be in the world of sport, whether it's tennis, football, or rugby, or cricket. It will be a very popular venue, and one where not just the teams will look forward to going, but even fans, because there are thousands and thousands of fans that follow these Formula One teams around the globe, and Cape Town certainly benefits by way of sporting tourism from this project.
I can imagine a street race in Cape Town. That will be something to marvel at.
Now, earlier we're telling you about the ASX, a very impressive vehicle available at Zimbabwe, and now it's time to talk about the Pajero Sport, where decades of off-road expertise and cutting-edge technology all come together to make up this vehicle, fusing elegance, space, and safety for urban agility and off-road excitement. It is the versatile family four-wheel drive built to help you escape the everyday and ignite your spirit of adventure. The Pajero Sport features the all-new 2.4-litre Myvec diesel engine with 8-speed automatic transmission and a Super Select 2 four-wheel drive system, which allows you to select your driving mode with the turning of a dial at your fingertips. It also features hill descent control, which controls your speed, and your braking down steep inclines, which allows you to concentrate on steering without having to manually apply the brakes.
The Pajero Sport can seat up to 7 adults in comfort and features the latest technology and safety systems. The Pajero Sport also includes 3 years or 100,000 kilometer warranty and a first free service of 10,000 kilometers. Follow our Instagram and Facebook pages and check out the videos of the Mitsubishi ASX and the Mitsubishi Pajero Sport to find out more information on these great vehicles. Alternatively, email us on sales@zimoco.co.zw or visit the Zimoco showroom at Sam Levy's Village, Borrowdale, between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. Don't forget to wear your mask and adhere to our COVID health and safety regulations. Stay safe, Zimbabwe. And on social media, Instagram and Facebook, just search for Zimoco.
The Formula One Report is proudly brought to you by Zimoco, the home of F1 brands Mercedes-Benz and Alfa Romeo in Zimbabwe. Zimoco, specialized service for special brands.
Hi, this is Alexandra Maseko, and I'm the national basketball team captain, and you're listening to ZiFM Sport.
Around the world in 60 seconds. International sports news.
Around the World in 60 is proudly brought to you by DSTV. We'll take off in England, where rugby's Six Nations sides, along with Japan and Fiji, are set to feature an 8-team tournament, which will replace this year's autumn internationals, the BBC is reporting. The tournament is scheduled to begin on the 14th of November, 2 weeks after the completion of the Six Nations Championship, which was postponed due to the COVID-19 outbreak in March. The report said England are likely to be in a 14 pool alongside Wales, Ireland and Fiji, while Scotland, France, Italy and Japan will make up the other group. After playing each other once, the teams will face their corresponding ranked side in the pool on the final weekend. We head over to Scotland, where this year's Alfred Dunhill Links Championship has been cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the European Tour announced yesterday. The event was due to be held from the 1st to the 4th of October across the Old Course at St Andrews, the championship course at Carnoustie and the King's Barns, and would have been celebrating its 20th anniversary. The size and complexity of the Alfred Dunhill Links Championship, played over 3 courses with 168 professionals and 168 amateurs, makes it very difficult to stage safely within the current guidelines, given the uncertainties we are facing, a spokesperson from the tournament committee said. The tournament is now set to be played from the 30th of September to the 3rd of October in 2021. And in tennis news out of the United States, the WTA has a strategy in place to cope with the financial strain caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. But Chief Executive Steve Simon thinks the elite women's tour will not return to any semblance of normalcy before 2022. The WTA, which has lost a big chunk of tournaments since the forced shutdown in early March, will finally resume after a 5-month break with the Palermo Open from the 3rd of August. All of its tournaments in China were cancelled on Friday after the country's sports ministry said it would not host any international events this year apart from the 2022 Winter Olympic Trials.
Hi, I'm Clemens Matau, chicken in midfielder. You're listening to ZiFM Sport.
The big leagues, the big teams, the big players. The beautiful game on ZiFM Sport. The beating drum. Roaring fans. Take a ride on the wild side with the Africa Report on ZiFM Sport.
Kickoff in the beautiful game is in Mozambique, where South Africa's Premier Soccer League season will resume on 8 August with the Nedbank Cup semi-finals. Chairman Dr. Irvin Khosi, the Iron Duke, confirmed yesterday, followed by the league campaign, which will start 3 days later. The decision to complete the 2019-2020 season was voted for unanimously by clubs at a Board of Governors meeting, according to Dr. Khosi. The Nedbank Cup clashes will see Mamelodi Sundowns take on Bidvest Wits and Baroka tackle Bloemfontein Celtic inside the Gauteng Biobubble at venues still to be determined. All matches will be played behind closed doors. The final of the Nedbank Cup will also be at the end of the season, but will be followed by the promotion relegation playoffs. Before we get the thoughts of the team, let's hear from veteran South African sportscaster, the man they call TK, the legendary Thomas Kwenaite.
I think the decision taken by the Football Federation and the Premier Soccer League to resume football is a welcome one, and I think when it was announced that football is returning, I'm sure the entire country heaved a collective sigh of relief, and some actually went on to say hallelujah, because I suppose a lot of people were suffering from withdrawal symptoms because of the lack of football action. It has been frustrating since the country went into national lockdown on the 16th of March, with the Premier Soccer League insisting that they wanted to resume football and complete the league championship. However, SAFA put their foot down and said, no way. Football can only resume when the country is in lockdown level 1. So the two organizations have been at loggerheads, unable to find each other until recently, when the Minister of Sport urged the two bodies to try and find each other and speak with one voice, and instructed SAFA, for that matter, to be responsible and liable for the resumption of football. So SAFA appointed a compliance officer who is a medical doctor, and frustratingly, the PSL also appointed their own compliance officer, and it got to a stage where it was becoming ridiculous. But as I said, thankfully, this week, the president of SAFA and the chairman of the Premier League both came together and together announced that football will resume on the 8th of August. And this is what we have all been looking for, because now I don't think it would have been fair that Kaizer Chiefs, who were on top of the league with only 7 more games to go, should be declared champions. Neither would it have been fair to the sponsors to have the league declared null and void after 23 to 24 matches out of the 30 that are required would have been then declared null and void. And what about the second division as well? Because you have number 1 and number 2 who have only 7 more games to play and were seemingly looking at being declared champions for that matter. I think the decision is welcome and a very good one for South African football. We can only say bravo and let the games begin.
That's Thomas Quinaite there speaking about the resumption of football in South Africa. The action is back, and Barry, he rightly says that the fans would have been singing hallelujah and may the action begin.
Yeah, and I think we are too singing hallelujah, because in truth we enjoy the South African Premier Soccer League quite a bit, and the action kicking off, albeit in a biosecure bubble in Gauteng. Regardless of that fact, it's always enjoyable to watch football out in Mzansi. The great thing is that the two principal agencies, the Premier Soccer League, which of course runs the National First Division as well, and then the SAFA on the other side, the South African Football Association, managed to find each other and managed to make a plan to get football back on the pitches. And given that they've got the infrastructure, they've got the facilities, the hotels, the football pitches, they were able to do it in a bio bubble. But the bottom line being that they set their minds to bringing football back, and they managed to get it done.
They managed to get it done, Chris, and also the role played by the Minister of Sport in South Africa as well, pivotal, because he put it on SAFA to say that the onus to bring football back is on you. You have a responsibility to do that. And as a result, once the target was set that football must return, it was easier for heads to come together and make sure that it came to pass.
Definitely. I think the kind of leadership that we've seen in South Africa, just in terms of dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic in general, has been really critical to how they've handled the situation. And if you take particularly a look in terms of sport and the return to sport, they started having the discussions across the sport discipline until it got to a point where the government had said, okay, it is permissible for a restart to begin in these kind of circumstances. And then it was up to the individual bodies to decide how exactly they were going to go about it. But like you said, the target had been set. I think I'm getting to a place where the target is set and everyone is working towards a common goal. I think that's absolutely critical. If you take a look at the league in South Africa, it wasn't a situation where they could have just said, okay, maybe we'll do some sort of mathematical calculation and make an end to the league. If you take a look at that table, Kaizer Chiefs are just 4 points ahead of Mamelodi Sundowns. So there were a lot of critical issues to work out, especially in terms of football, and they managed to do it, and they're managing to get this football back on track in an environment that the government deemed permissible, obviously under that guidance of the Ministry of Sport.
Now, Barry, let's talk about that bio bubble that you talked about, which has been established in Gauteng. And you've got to say that outside of perhaps, 3 or 4 countries in North Africa, it's only South Africa in sub-Saharan Africa that can pull this off. This is something that cannot happen in Zimbabwe, can't happen in Zambia, can't happen in Kenya, because we simply don't have the capacity and the facilities to pull it off.
Yeah, you need the transport system, you need the hotels, you need, and by that, it's not to say that you've got hotels that are functional. No, you need to have a facility so that teams are blocked off. They are almost kept away from the rest of the public, And South Africa, this is the legacy of hosting that first African World Cup in 2010, whereby they needed to construct all these hotels and have these stadiums that are fit for purpose. So it's almost a happy circumstance that they find themselves in, that they have the facilities and now they can actually put them to good use. So fair dues to them. It's almost on the same lines as the NBA out at Disney Sport World, where they've got their own little bubble there as well. So a great going by South Africa and great legacy of 2010.
Absolutely. So action is returning in Mzansi, and it's been reported that some teams will be playing every 3 days. So it's going to be binge football on SuperSport if that's where you're going to be catching the action. And of course, we'll be keeping an eye on the race for honours in South Africa. Mamelodi Sundowns, can they claw their way back to yet another title, or will Kaizer Chiefs be able to cling on until the very end and make sure that Kama Billiot and the likes of Katsande Ute, salt and vinegar, they call him in South Africa, will be crowned victors at the end of this marathon race, arguably the longest season ever in South African football.
All right, over to England now, where Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp has been named League Managers Association Manager of the Year. Klopp guided Liverpool to their first ever Premier League title and a first title in England's top flight in 30 years this season, after leading the Reds to a Champions League crown in 2018-2019. The German coach pipped Marcelo Bielsa, who guided Leeds United back into the Premier League after 16 years in the wilderness. Wycombe Wanderers manager Gareth Ainsworth and last year's winner Chris Wilder of Sheffield United to the Alex Ferguson Trophy, named after the former Manchester United manager. Now let's hear from Fergie, Sir Alex Ferguson, and then from the winner, Jurgen Klopp. You can tell which voice is which very easily.
Jurgen, fantastic. I speak about Leeds United, 16 years in the Championship. Liverpool, 30 years since winning that league. Incredible, and I really thoroughly deserved. The performance level of your team was outstanding. Your personality went right through the whole club. I think it was a marvellous performance. I'll forgive you for waking me up at 3:30 in the morning to tell me you'd won the league. Thank you. But anyway, you thoroughly deserved it. Well done.
So, yeah, I'm absolutely delighted to get this wonderful trophy. It was really wonderful, and I had already the opportunity to have a look who won it before. And obviously a lot of big Liverpool names involved, not only Liverpool, but it's really big Liverpool names as well. Bill Shankly, I think, I'm not sure if I found him, but Bob Paisley, Joe Baden. Kenny looks like he's all over the trophy everywhere. Brendan won it, well deserved, and but the name is Sir Alex Ferguson. And I know it's not 100% appropriate as a Liverpool manager, but I admire him, not to say I love him. It was the first English-British manager I met, and we had breakfast together. It's long ago, I'm not sure he remembers it still, but I remember it forever, because in this moment it was for me like meeting the Pope, if you want, and it was absolutely great. And from the first second we really clicked, and I wouldn't have thought in that moment that one day I hold a trophy in my hands, which is named after him. But I have to say thank you to a lot of people, and it's easy to say, but sometimes I think it sounds like we have to say, but it's easy to say in my case. I am here on behalf of my coaches. I said it a lot of times, but I'm okay as a manager, but they make us a really special bunch of football brains, and I love to work with them together. It's to work together with Pep Linders, Peter Gravitz, John Achterberg, Vito Myers, my God, and Jack Robinson. It's a pleasure. I could carry on with the list forever, because we have so many great people here who made it happen that this year we won the title, and only because of that I got the trophy, I know that. So my players, all the people I work together with, I take this and I love it for all of us together, and I'm happy to show you a few pictures, and maybe we can make a few pictures together. I'm not sure how long can I keep it. And then we will all remember it forever. Thank you very much.
Liverpool registering 99 points at the end of the competition. The team to win the league fastest with 7 games remaining. In truth, Chris, there was no question, no argument, no surprises.
No surprises at all. I think Jurgen Klopp has managed to, first of all, to get this team to where it is in this particular season where they had to hold on. I think if you look right across the season, we almost thought they'd go as hard as the Invincibles did. And just being able to hold that team together right across the finish line, even with the COVID-19 pandemic enforced break, even with at times the team looking a little bit haggard there, and he managed to get those players across the finish line. And I think that's the mark of any great manager, is to get that team together and get this trophy after such a long period, 30 years. And I think that's what makes the mark of a brilliant manager, is just being able to keep your players mentally fit. And I think even if you listen to some of the interviews that players would have after every match day that they had won, you could see these were players who were playing game after game after game and not getting caught up in each and every single one of them, which could have led to them possibly dropping points where they needed to. So managing to register these 99 points is down to Jurgen Klopp keeping that team together.
Yeah, and as Fergie pointed out there, and Chris is alluding to, you've got a Jurgen Klopp who's managed to infuse his character throughout that team, the fighting spirit, the humility, the enjoying their football, and also the going hard at every single opponent. It's a Liverpool side that is certainly, it's excited neutrals and certainly excited the Liverpool fans.
Yeah, absolutely, Barry. They've played a winning brand of football, equaling Manchester City's record of 32 wins in 38 matches. And I think people need to stop and reflect upon that. 32 wins in 38 matches. Liverpool won the league in November. You know, people keep talking about, oh yeah, Liverpool this, Liverpool that. In November, the league was done and dusted. When Liverpool thumped Man City 3-0 at Anfield, it was done. Yeah. And so I know officially it was only confirmed several months later, but at that stage in November, everyone else was now playing for second place, for third place, for Champions League qualification. And that's how good this Liverpool side has been. And it hasn't been brilliance over 12 months. This has been brilliance, Barry, that has been building over 3 years. There was the season of heavy metal football when Liverpool was scoring with gay abandon. They thrilled so many people. Mohamed Salah broke the all-time scoring record in English football set by the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, Luis Suarez. He blew it out of the water. And this guy was not even a central striker. You know, that's why I marvel at the disrespect that Mohamed Salah has to deal with on an almost daily basis. That people forget that as a winger, he beat the record set by Suarez and Ronaldo, who were central strikers. Beat the record set by Thierry Henry and Alan Shearer, who were central strikers. No player has scored more goals in English football than Mohamed Salah since he joined Liverpool. No one has been involved in more goals than Mohamed Salah since he came to Liverpool. So he's been absolutely outstanding. And then they carried that form, Barry, into that nearly season where 97 points wasn't good enough. They came second. And then people said, oh, you know what? Can Liverpool do it? Can Liverpool be better than that? We don't think so. Guess what? They went 2 points better. Blew Man City completely out of the water. So Jurgen Klopp, for me, a deserved winner. And this coming on the back of him winning FIFA Best Coach last year. I mean, it tops it for a coach that a lot of people say, listen, was the nearly man of football because he had lost so many finals and couldn't quite get across the line.
Certainly. And again, he's got his men unbeaten at home in 3 seasons, and quite when you point out those 3 seasons, it certainly has been that way. So congratulations.
Can I say something, Barry? It's coming again next season. People think that this is the end. It's not the end. This side here is a side that's in its prime. You tell me of any changes that need to be made. We got players in their prime. Some like Trent, who haven't even entered their prime. You know, the likes of Salah and Mane, Van Dijk, they're now entering their prime. Fabinho is entering his prime. Alisson is entering his prime. Robertson is entering his prime. Gomez hasn't even entered his prime. So this is a team that, barring some bad luck and catastrophe where 3 or 4 players get injured, this is a team that's going to challenge. Now, I'm not saying Man City will not bounce back and the other teams will not get better. But if people think that Liverpool is going to drop away, it's not going to happen.
Not going to happen. Liverpool is going to be here for a very long time. Staying in England, and we received news earlier today that the Bournemouth AFC board are set to meet tomorrow to decide whether they will seek compensation from Hawkeye, the official supplier of goal line technology to the Premier League, for the failure of its technology in the match between Aston Villa and Sheffield United at the beginning of the restart. Hawkeye technology failed to pick up a goal for Sheffield United that was carried over the line by Villa's goalkeeper, but the on-field referee Michael Oliver didn't get notification that the ball had crossed the line. Had the goal been given and Sheffield United had won that game, it would have been Aston Villa and not Bournemouth that would have been relegated. So this is a very tasty one, Chris, because in truth, Bournemouth have every right to seek compensation because it is that goal that never was that has caused Bournemouth to go down.
100%, and I think this is a case that they may possibly win. The reason for having that goal line technology is to avoid scenarios like this where there's a team that could possibly be relegated and all of the implications that come with that. This is a situation where the technology failed and it was very clear to everyone that the technology had failed. So I think this is a case they could possibly win, and deservedly so, because of the impact it's had on Bournemouth and them sliding down into the first division.
Yeah, the financial implications are quite huge. So if they are seeking their compensation and feel that they can win, then they will be looking for quite a hefty chunk of change from Hawkeye, won't they, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. But they should also extend their litigation to the Referees Association, because whilst the technology failed, I think Hawkeye will argue in court that there was a safety net, the safety net being made up of VAR and the officials that run VAR. Because the technology having failed, we all saw on TV that it was a clear goal.
Yeah,
and VAR should have been able to pick it up. So VAR should have been able to provide the safety net for the technology, and yet it didn't. So again, it brings scrutiny on the match officials that were present on that day, how they failed to pick out something that the whole world managed to pick out in seconds. And that for me is the real failure on the day.
So for you, who is the first respondent and who is the second respondent?
It has to be the technology, yes, Hawkeye, because primarily they're supposed to perform the function.
Sure.
But then there has got to be a second respondent, and the second respondent has got to be the Referees Association, because VAR was put in place to be able to make rulings on incidents of this nature. This is a goal, isn't it one of those goal scoring incidents? So if anything around goal being scored, VAR has got to be involved in the mix. So we can't let VAR and the referees off on this one. I think they're as complicit as the technology.
I'm sure for the rest of this evening, the lawyers and the barristers that represent Hawkeye are pouring through their agreements with the Premier League to see if they have any sort of fail-safe that can protect them and ensure that they do not get litigation and compensation can't be sought by the board of Bournemouth AFC. It's not that Bournemouth might come back into the Premier League, no. I think it's just a financial claim that they will be seeking. We'll see what the decision is made tomorrow by the Bournemouth board.
Heading over to Germany now, Bayern Munich chairman Karl-Heinz Rummenigge has criticized the cancellation of this year's Ballon d'Or. The annual award is handed out to the best men's and women's player, but was cancelled this year due to the coronavirus pandemic. Bayern Munich's Robert Lewandowski was considered a frontrunner for the award, having scored a remarkable 34 goals for the Bundesliga title holders, and Rummenigge was disappointed with the decision to not honor the sport's best players this season. Unfortunately, France football cancelled the Golden Ball, which we are not very happy with, and in the end, it's not very fair. Not just for Bayern, but also Robert Lewandowski, who might have won, Rummenigge said at a news conference yesterday. Barry, some of the arguments that have been made by France football the magazine that is the lack of a sufficiently level playing field. But some will argue that the playing field was level if you consider that everyone was affected by the coronavirus pandemic. All the teams were right across Europe. So in this scenario, do you agree with Karl-Heinz Rummenigge?
I do agree with Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, and I would say the answer is in the name of the magazine. Less so the football part, more so the France part. If you recall, the league that called off decided to call time on their season almost very early into the coronavirus outbreak was French football. And so consequently, I think for them to have an award ceremony wherein realistically there was going to be no representative from the French league. You know how they've been talking up Kylian Mbappe as being the next great thing and all sorts. Albeit the Robert Lewandowski was the front runner, they would have wanted there to be at least that French flavor. Without that French flavor, they thought to themselves, no, we're going to cancel this. And it's like the old adage of the boy who owns the ball playing in the neighborhood. The minute that a decision he grabs the ball and goes home. So it's unfortunate. I don't think it was necessary. It's not the right decision. We should have had the award ceremony, and likelihood Robert Lewandowski was going to win.
So this ceremony has been cancelled for the first time since 1956, and we're going to have to wait one more year to find out that Ballon d'Or winner.
Right, let's wrap it up with a couple of updates coming out of Italy, where Gianpiero Gasperini has urged Atalanta to seal the second spot in Serie A to send a strong message to Champions League quarterfinal opponents PSG. We are masters of our destiny. The second place depends only on us, said Coach Gasperini ahead of tonight's match at Parma, with their final league game against Inter Milan next week in Bergamo. Closing the championship big would be the best way to face PSG. Quick update from Turin, Argentina forward Paulo Dybala is facing a race to be fit for Juventus Champions League last 16 return leg against Lyon on the 7th of August after the Italian champions confirmed yesterday he had suffered a thigh injuries.
It will certainly be a sad one without Paulo Dybala. Him, of course, being one of the almost poster boys of the coronavirus. He was struck down by it, kept testing positive, but when he came back to football, he looks absolutely brilliant. Hopefully, he'll make it back in time for that, but it looks unlikely. We are unlikely to carry on with the show. We've got to go. We'll catch you tomorrow. May God richly bless you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Manande, out.
And it's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
The biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.